Carrie Plantinga here with Plantinga Music. I thought I would do a little intro video of who I am and yeah, a little bit more about me. So hope you enjoy this video and this little tour that I'm going to do of my new studio, which I am like super excited about. Alright, okay, you ready for my little tour? It's going to be quick. I promise, it's going to be super quick. Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, this is actually a spare bedroom. I'm converting it. Alright, I've just got, I do play guitar. I've got my piano tuning tools over there. And then I've got all my sheet music is on the bottom here actually. I'm still organizing. I've got a lot of my business stuff and my piano tuning courses there. I've got some drawers here with, there's a few tools in here for my instrument repair days. I write a home and garden blog. So a lot of extra stuff is in here for that as well for my office. And yeah, I did Royal Conservatory before I had kids. We were trying to get pregnant, and I told my husband, I was like, I need to pursue my music. I want to get better at it. So I did advanced rudiments and got high honors with that. Anyways, there is my musical instrument repair diploma. And this guy here, his name is Bob. I worked with him for a couple of years. He got sick and he died, so I'll talk about that in a minute. And yeah, my dad actually custom made this for me. This is actually a headstock of a guitar, so it's really cool. It's got all my core like piano tuning instruments and stuff like that. Not piano tuning. My musical repair tools are on there. I've got my flutes. My flutes are here, and yeah. Anyhow. Just over here, I just got some of my music stands. My guitars are actually upstairs. And then, yeah, I have to show you this. My parents found a music folder for me. And this music folder, I held all my flute music in it for a number of years. And then, it started to break. So I took it apart and I made it into a frame. I think it turned out pretty sweet. And this is actually, I hope I can come in here close enough. That's a vintage piece of vocal music that I found at a thrift store, and it's so old that repairs were done by stitching it back together. So I never figured out how old this thing was, but it's kind of cool. I like it. I love vintage things. So yeah, and then over here by my window, I just have my desk and some stuff that I've got set up. Okay, so a little bit of background about me. I got like my music beginnings from my mom, from playing her guitar. It's like my first early memory, and I vaguely remember like singing with her in the choir in the church years ago. So anyhow, music was very early on in my life. And then, oh man, when I was like, I think I was 12, pretty sure I was 12, I got the worship coordinator at the time was like, hey, you want to play for Christmas? So I got my flute. My flute's my first instrument. I actually still have it. It's upstairs on my mantle. I use my instruments as my decor in my house. Anyways, so I got this flute, and it's actually the brand Blessing. I wouldn't recommend that brand. If you have it, great, but you'll know why I'm like recommending about brands and that kind of stuff in a minute. Anyways, so I started flute. And then I got to play for like this Christmas church ensemble, and I remember my sister like being the clarinet player, and then there was like a trumpet player. That's all I really remember. So anyhow, that was like my first like real experience with music and just being on stage and kind of performing, that sort of thing, aside from the choir. So anyhow, that's kind of just where it got started for me. I still remember getting like my first flute lesson from one of the other like, it was like I was in grade 7, I think she was like grade 11 or something. Like the high school students used to introduce the instruments to the younger kids. I still remember that. And anyways, so like fast forward into high school, got to play, and all the other kids that like, you know, kids get into sports or like they love shop class or that sort of thing. Well, like I learned very quickly that music was more my sort of thing. So I was always like, I always had the perfect practice log. Not that I'm a perfect person, but anyways, I always like strived for that. I made sure that I practiced all the time and always got like 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10, whatever it was. And I used to always like make sure that I did my tape recording like on a cassette tape, and you know, would tell the teacher like what piece I was doing and that kind of stuff. I still remember all those things. So anyhow, graduation comes around for high school, and my like teacher was like, okay, well, like, you know, they push you. They're kind of pushy in high school. Let's be real here. They're kind of pushy in high school about where you should go. Like, you should have a college application in, or all that sort of thing. So I actually went to my band teacher and I was like, I don't know what to do. So we talked about like adjudication and just becoming an adjudicator, and I was like, well, that sounds pretty intense. I can go into teaching. I can like get my like BA and master's in teaching and become a band teacher. Or and we talked about musical instrument repair, and I was like, I didn't think that was a thing. So anyhow, there was one college in Canada, so I applied. I was on a wait list to get in. Yes, there used to be a wait list for this program. There was a wait list to get in, and then I got a phone call one day saying that I got in. So I was still in grade 12 when this was happening. So I got in. I went to Fort McMurray, Alberta. I went to Keyano College. It's not Piano College, like the piano, Keyano. Anyways, I went to Keyano College for 2 years, and I still have my ring. I'm one of the few graduates from the program. A couple of years ago, I kind of looked back into the program to see if it was still around, and it's gone. So anyhow, I get told by people that I'm a rarity now, that I'm somebody that can repair instruments, and yeah, anyhow, I'll get to why I haven't been repairing in a minute. So I got to work at a shop in Vancouver for a couple years, and then I worked at a shop in Langley. Even during my like first year and second year of college, I worked for a shop in Abbotsford. So anyhow, I've been around a couple of different shops, and I think the biggest highlight out of all of that was working with a guy named Bob McDonald. And Bob was known all over the world. We had instruments being sent to us, and sent to us from like India. That's where it was. Anyways, that was like one of the biggest things. I met my husband, and the one thing about working with Bob McDonald is he got very sick, and he had Lou Gehrig's disease. He was diagnosed with it, and I was 20, like 19, 20. Like, I met my husband when I was in my 20s. I think I got married at like 21, not even 21, 22. Anyways, so right, like, this is a number of years ago now. I'm just still trying to like piece it back together. Okay, so working with Bob, I actually, because he got so sick, I ended up like running the shop instead of learning from him, which was, I was a very, very challenging time. Plus I was like really young and still learning about who I was and that sort of thing. Like, this company gave me so many amazing opportunities, even Bob did. And I actually turned a lot of that down. So looking back, some of my life regret, I wish that I had jumped onto those things and said yes, but I'm not going to get into it now because it's in the past. So anyhow, I get married, and not long after, actually my wrist got shot. For a number of years, I actually wore wrist braces to sleep at night. And actually, like, I couldn't even wash dishes, that sort of thing. So here I am, like a newlywed, and I feel like I'm crippled. So anyhow, it's fine. It's very, very, very fine work on your hands, and even on your back and your shoulders and stuff like that. So I actually had a massage therapist, like, working on my back for a number of years. Plus, I was driving from Chilliwack into Vancouver. I eventually moved to Surrey. You can look at a map to see the distances on that. I eventually like lived in Surrey for about a year, and then that's when I met my husband when we moved to Langley. So, or actually he's from Langley, we lived in Langley. And anyways, so those were really hard years for me, and this is where my faith jumps in. I actually, because I had stopped doing musical instrument repair, a lot of people were like, oh, start up your own shop. And I like, at this point, Bob had passed away from his Lou Gehrig's disease, and I didn't feel comfortable or mature enough or to be able to do any of those things. And so I totally switched careers. I went right into becoming an EA because I thought becoming an educational assistant would be good for my family in the future. Difference is I didn't really see God in this situation. So yes, I believe in Jesus Christ, and a lot of my music you'll get here on the channel is going to be a lot of Christian music and feeling encouraged. There's a song that God wants me to write. I will pursue that as well. Anyhow, fast forward, I've been hanging on to, like, I've had a few instruments over the years. Like, people, like, when they find out that I repair musical instruments, they, like, you know, come out to me and like, hey, like, you know, like they want to encourage me and that sort of thing. And I never felt equipped. And we did a little research, and I started to do some instruments a couple years ago, and the cost to get, like, I'm in Canada, the cost to get stuff from the States to come here is like crazy expensive, and I didn't realize how expensive that was. I had a situation at the border. I'm not going to get into that story here today, but anyhow, the cost of it, like, I still have some tools, but the parts and the supplies is really expensive. So my husband and I were like, you know what, I will go in a different direction for music for now. And I actually 2 years ago bought a piano tuning course. People have always asked me, like, when I say that I repair musical instruments, right away they're like, oh, do you tune pianos? No. Well, I've taken the course, like, I've got the course, I've been working through it. The time that we bought the course, I had my third baby. So we have 3 children, and I have my third child, and I've had a couple of, I'm gonna call them hurdles. I keep, like, hitting, like, wall against wall against wall of trying to get this accomplished. So in the meantime, I'm starting up this channel, I'm playing my flute again, and that's where I'm at. So eventually it's going to be a yes for the piano tuning. It's just, there's a couple of things that I need to get through before I can actually say yes for that. So anyhow, this is getting about 10 minutes long, but I thought I would just introduce myself and share a bit about my music past, that sort of thing. So the other thing about me, just one quick note, I also have another channel. It's called Noteful Living. So I actually, from that time that I worked with Bob, and like back when I was in my 20s, I still continued to play on worship, and that's, I'm calling this like my flute worship channel. I was playing on worship this whole time, and when I had my babies, I had a hard time with my pregnancies and stuff. I stopped playing, but I could not hear the music play. I could not hear it. So Noteful Living is my home and garden channel that I have, and that's another outlet that I like to have aside from music. And yeah, my heart is full with music. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear your comments, because you connect with me, I'll connect with you, and that's the best way that we can do this. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed the little tour, and have a great day.